Good morning. I've thought I'd go through a sequence with you today called Salute to the Sun. So it's a yoga sequence, the traditional version, but we're going to do it with a Pilates twist. So we're going to use it to go through it in a very beginner's way, so you start to introduce your body to the different movements using the Pilates principles. So you're thinking about the setup of your body when you're going into each of the different poses. And I will also go on and do some videos for a sort of more intermediate version and then a more advanced version, because you can push your body through the sequence it's slightly more and more as your body gets familiar with it and starts to find it easier to do the movements. So the important thing the first time is that you listen to your body. If you've got any aches and pains or things, or sort of sore hips or knees or ankles or whatever, just take it gently and start to learn what your body can cope with, and then keep going through this low level one, thinking of the Pilates principles that we'll talk through as we do it. And then as you get more confident with it and you feel you can do the beginner's one really easily and know where your body is in space, you can then have a look at the intermediate version and then the more advanced version. And then it's really helpful to come back to the beginner's version every now and again, just to recheck that your body is stacked in the right place, because it's really easy for us all to go through the path of least resistance. So if you have an area of your body that tends to be stiff and an area of your body that tends to be more mobile, you will always go through using that more mobile section rather than loosening up the stiff section. So you end up stressing and straining the mobile area and often getting pain in that area, whereas the stiff area just stays stiff. So by understanding where your body should be in space and how to stack it in various positions, hopefully you help reduce the stress on the mobile areas and increase the mobility of the stiff areas and become more balanced and less, you have less pain in your body, hopefully. I always like to start a session with a ball rolling for the feet, just so you really get your foot connection down into the floor. I've got here on the floor a golf ball, a tennis ball, or a spiky ball that I tend to use, but you can use any ball. The principle is the same, so whether you choose to have a golf one or a tennis ball or an old dog ball that you throw for the dog, doesn't matter, but find a ball, and then I want you to place the ball in front of your right foot, and you're going to then lift your right foot up and place the ball of your big toe, so just the bottom of your big toe, onto the ball, and then you're going to press that down and forwards until the foot rolls forwards to the heel, and then gently come to the second toe. Push down and back through that foot to the heel bone, come back up to the third toe, push down and back to the heel, come back up to the fourth, push down and back to the heel, come back to the fifth toe, push down, widening that outside edge of that foot over the ball, because that's often where feet are tight, and then come back so the ball is just in the centre of the foot, just towards the front half, so just behind the balls of the feet here, you've got the ball sat just in there. And I just want you to reach down through your heel bone, stand up tall, reach through the crown of your head to the sky. If that feels okay, you can bring your left foot level and really reach down through your heel and find that calf stretch. And breathe into it and just hold it for a few moments, opening up the back of the calf. You can even just roll the foot from side to side, the forefoot, so you can find different elements of that calf muscle. So as you roll onto the outside edge of the foot, you might feel a deeper stretch on the outside of the calf, and as you roll over onto the big toe edge, you might find a deeper stretch on the inside of the calf, but you need to keep reaching through the heel and keep growing tall, because it's quite often easy to look down and that can take the stretch off. And then releasing that foot. Now before you place it under the other foot, I want you just to take a moment to put that foot on the floor and notice how different it feels to the other foot. So it's really important that when your brain experiences something new, you take a moment to recognize it. So really feeling the connection of the big toe and little toe down into the floor, and the weight distribution across that ball of the foot, and then through the center of the heel bone. So you're visualizing a tripod in that foot. Base of the big toe, base of the little toe, center of that heel bone is the core structure of your foot, and your arches run from the heel to the base of the big toe, from your heel to the base of the little toe, and from the base of your big toe across to the base of your little toe. And that creates the structure of your foot. And you want to really enjoy feeling more connection down into those points, having done that ball roll. So then you're going to do the same on the left side, placing the ball under the big toe, at the base of the big toe, and rolling it back to the heel bone. Again, if you find your balance is wobbly, keep a chair nearby so you can hold on to it, but it's ideal to get used to doing it without holding. So running down the base from the second toe down to the heel, rolling up to the third, pushing down and back, rolling up to the fourth toe, pushing down and back, rolling up to the fifth toe, and pushing down and back along that outside edge of that foot. And then coming back to just behind the ball of the foot. So the ball is kind of under this section here. And then you're going to reach down through that heel bone, grow tall through the crown of the head, lengthen through the spine. Really find that length from the heel bone reaching to the floor, and make the centre of the heel bone reach, not the outside or inside edge. Make sure then that your other foot is level with that foot, so you're in alignment. Really stand tall, and then you can again roll from the big toe side, really find that stretch on the medial calf, to the little toe side, find that stretch on the lateral calf, rolling out to find the medial stretch, and rolling out to find that lateral calf stretch, and then removing the ball and letting it roll away. So then we're just going to do a few warm-up exercises before we go into this sequence of Salute to the Sun. So I'll talk you through a few warm-ups, and then we'll discuss the sequence. So the first warm-up I'd like to do is just a breathing exercise, and I want you to interlink your fingers in front of your body, and you're going to breathe in, raising your hands to your breastbone. Then as you breathe out, you're going to bend your knees forwards, you're going to reach through the heels of the hands parallel with the thighs, and you're going to tuck the tailbone round through the back. You're pulling your bottom ribs back, you're lifting your breastbone almost back between your shoulder blades, widening your collarbones and your shoulder blades, and reaching through the heels of the hands. And then you're going to breathe in as you reach forwards and up.
Lift the breastbone. At this point, it's really easy for the hips to sway forwards. I want those hips to stay over the ankles, and I want you to lift your breastbone up to the sky without letting the hips come forwards. Breathing in and then breathing out to release.
Breathing in, breathing out. Drop the knees forwards, round the tailbone between your legs, round the upper back. Pull the bottom ribs back towards the spine. Reach through the heels of the hands. Breathe in as you reach forwards and up.
Keep the hips over the ankles as you lift your breastbone. Breathe out to release.
Breathing in,
Breathing out, dropping the knees, tucking the tail, rounding through the back. Release the head and neck between your arms, looking between your inner thighs. Breathe in, reach forwards and up.
Keep your hips back as you lift your breastbone up, and breathing out.
and two more. Breathing in,
Breathing out, rounding through the spine, dropping the head, tucking the tail, pulling the ribs back, breathing in and up.
Lift the chest, reach through the heels of the hands, and breathing out.
and last one. Breathing in,
Breathing out, reach,
Breathing in. Hips stay back as you lift your breastbone above them. Breathing out.
and releasing, circling those shoulders. As you circle the shoulders, we're just going to talk about the body placements. So the 5 key elements of Pilates are the pelvis. So your pelvic position is really important throughout these movements we're going to do today. And I'll stand sideways. Pelvic neutral, you should have a gentle inward curve at the lower back. Some people tend to stand with their knees slightly bent and their tail dropping down, so their lower back is very flat. And then that is not a good position for your lower back. You get a lot of stress and strain into the sacral junction. So you want to soften the front of the hip joints, straighten through your knees. You don't want to hyperextend them, but you just want them straight. Between the hips, knees and ankles are a straight line. And then you want your rib cage not to be sitting in front of your pelvis. So some people will have a deep arch at the lower back, which extends up into the bottom of the rib cage because their ribs sit in front and they have almost an overarched back.
and those people need to pull their ribs back over. So you're looking for an inward curve at the lower back, and you can feel it to see what your back feels like. You need softness at the front of the hips. You need that pelvic neutral. You want rib cage placement, so you want to make sure your front of your rib cage is soft and you're not overarching your middle back and sticking your chest forwards. The next thing you want to think about is your rib cage placement. Your shoulder blade placement. So you want to think your collarbones are wide and your shoulder blades want to drop down your back. So your shoulders are away from your ears. You've got nice space. A lot of people will tend to have tension in their upper neck, which brings their shoulders towards their ears and tends to cause them to poke their chin forwards. So we need you to widen your collarbones and drop those shoulder blades down. And keep those shoulder blades nice and flat and wide on your back. So you're not squeezing them together, and you're wanting your arm bones to hang on the side of your body and not be forwards of your body. So those shoulder blades are in the correct position. And then you've got your head and neck placement, where you want your chin to feel like it's slightly lifting up towards your throat. So you've got length through the back and the front of the neck. Because if your chin pokes forwards, you tend to shorten the top of your neck and get soreness in the top of your neck and a lot of fatigue, because as soon as your head and neck is forwards of the rest of your spine, your head weighs more. Whereas if you can get your head stacked on top of your spine, the force goes down through the spine and distributes more evenly rather than it hanging forwards. And then the last thing is about engaging through your belly, so we start to get some tone back at the front of your body to balance the tone at the back of the body. And so you can practice that by breathing. So when you breathe, you draw the diaphragm down as you breathe down into your belly, but then you want to breathe out into the sides of your rib cage rather than letting your belly pop forwards. And then as you breathe out, you want to visualize drawing up through your pelvic floor, which is your back passage and your front passage, and tightening through your lower tummy and getting a sense of connection between the rib cage and the pelvis at the front of the body. But you must always relax that when you breathe in to allow a normal breath. And then as you breathe out, you think about engaging through that pelvic support, the pelvic floor and the lower tummy muscles. Breathing in and relaxing. So those are the postures that the key elements that we're going to think about as we go through this postural movement. And so the first thing we're going to do in this sequence is we're going to take a big breath in and we're going to float the arms up to the ceiling and we're going to lift the breastbone, keeping the pelvis over the ankles. Then we're going to breathe out and release the hands back down. You're going to take a rest breath in, and then you're going to use the whole of the out breath to round through the spine. And we're just going to come to the knees this first time and loosen up the back. We're going to bend the knees forwards, and we're going to keep that back rounded for a minute and really pull the belly up and in, pull the bottom ribs up and in, keep the shoulder blades wide and the collarbones wide, and release the head and neck down. Then we're going to take a breath, and as we breathe out, we're going to lift the sit bones up, spread them wide behind you as you arch through that lower back. But as you arch through the lower back, I want you to keep your belly active because you're breathing out. Widen the collarbones, pull your shoulder blades down and reach through the crown of your head up into the sort of corner of the ceiling. Breath in, breathing out, tuck the tail, pull the belly in, pull the bottom ribs up and in, round through the upper back, release the head and neck down. Taking a breath, breathing out, lift the sit bones up and widen them behind you and keep that belly active as you drop through the lower back and send the bottom ribs forwards, lifting the breastbone up and forwards to look forwards in a diagonal. Big breath in, breathing out, tuck the tail, pull it under, use your belly muscles, pull, find the connection between the pelvis and the ribs. Pulling in, dropping the head and neck, releasing the head and neck from the shoulders. Big breath, breathing out. Last one, reach the sit bones behind you, drop through the lower back, widen the collarbones, pull those shoulder blades down your back, feel those shoulder blades really plugged into your back. Lift up through to look through the head. Keep that chin lifting up into the throat so you haven't collapsed the head and neck forwards. Breathing in, breathing out, tuck the tail, use that belly muscles, pelvic floor, lower tummy, pull in the bottom ribs back, round through the upper back, release the head and shoulders, let them drop. Let the head drop to the floor. Breath in there, straighten your knees, and you're going to continue with the out breath to lower yourself down.
Once you get down to where is comfortable for you, I want you to bend your knees so you can try and get your fingers to the floor. If you're tight, you might need to bend them further. But I want you to try and imagine you're lowering your belly towards your thighs. And as you do that, you might want to visualize your thigh bones slightly rolling out. The leg position isn't changing, but just think about opening at the fronts of your hips to allow you to soften your belly down a little bit further onto the front of your hips. Then release the head and neck down. Have a little bit of weight into your fingers, wherever they are on the floor, and then I want you to look towards the floor, lengthening your neck as you do it. So as you look towards the floor, you should be lifting the back of your head up, but not shortening the back of your neck. So I want the movement to come from your upper back. So from the middle of your rib cage and up, I want you to lift from there to go to look at the floor,
rather than just to shorten your neck.
Take a big breath there, and then breathe out and release the head down. Let the head and neck fully relax. Take a breath, and you're going to start with the right foot. You're going to step it back behind you, and you're going to take the knee to the floor. You're going to step the front foot forward so you've got a nice space between the front heel and the back knee. And what I want you to do now is I want you to try and open the hips, these two thigh bones. So this front leg, you're thinking of rolling that thigh out. Again, you're not moving the leg, you're just visualizing that thigh bone opening to give you more space at this hip joint. Sending that knee forwards, but keep the foot and the ankle underneath the knee. So adjust the foot if you need to as you reach this knee forwards. Then you want to visualize this back knee, this back leg is reaching back, and this thigh as it reaches back is rolling in slightly to again give you more space at the front of the hip joint. So reach that front knee forwards, reach that back knee back. And whilst you do that, you can come up onto your fingers and try and lengthen out of your waist, out through the back and out through the crown of the head, keeping your chin lifting into your throat, not collapsing. Keeping your collarbones wide and your shoulder blades down. Feeling that opening of the hip joints.
So hopefully you've got a nice space there.
We're then going to put the left hand inside that right foot just to allow you to take that left foot back, and you're going to place your hands flat
on the floor, and you're going to be in 4-point kneeling now,
and your knees are underneath your hip joints and your wrists are underneath your shoulders, so the hands are then
forwards of the shoulders.
And I want you to take a moment to really set your hands up. So think about your hands like we did with the feet. The base of your little finger, knuckle joint, the base of your index finger knuckle joint are two of the weight bearing points, and then the outside corner of the wrist and then the base of the thumb side of the wrist, and you're trying to spread the weight evenly between those four corners of the palm. If you find that difficult, then your palmar fascia is tight, and you want to practice that because it does get easier. And as well as that, you want to then try and send some weight forwards into the fingers.
And if the fingers find it hard to be straight,
then again you need to practice this so that they find it easier. And little by little, you'll find this position more comfortable, but it can take some time, so don't be impatient. And just to mobilize the wrists, we're just going to swing our weight forwards and back, thinking about those points in the hands, wide space through the palms, base of index finger, base of little finger, outside and inside all edges of the wrist, and spread weight forwards into the fingers as you lean forwards. And reaching forwards
and back.
So then, we're going to just do a little bit of preparation for the next exercise. So the next exercise, we are going to lower our bodies down to the floor from this knee position. So the first thing,
you're going to move your hands forwards, and you're going to bring your hips forwards so your weight is
over the arms. You want to keep those collarbones wide and the shoulder blades pulling down.
So I don't want your shoulders to have come up to your ears now. I want you to feel that connection between the ribs and the pelvis, so your belly isn't sagging. You've got activity in these muscles here. They're working. The pelvis is in neutral, so your tail isn't tucked under. The sit bones are reaching behind you.
And the last thing is your neck. So your head hasn't done this. You're lifting your chin up into the throat. You're then going to send the breastbone towards the floor just in front of your hands, bending your elbows to the sides of your waist. All the way down. Keep the collarbones wide, keep the shoulder blades down, keep the chin in.
And then once you're down there, you're going to widen the palms out onto the sides. So your elbows are coming straight out from your shoulders and your hands are straight up from your elbows. You're going to rest your forehead on the floor. You're going to take a breath. You're going to have your legs hip width apart. You're going to take a breath, and as you breathe out, you're going to hover your head. And then you're going to take a breath, and as you breathe out, you're going to sink through your breastbone, keeping your head hovered, so you're really heavy through the front of your chest. You're then going to make sure your pelvis is in neutral, but you're just drawing your belly up towards your spine to support your lower back. And you're reaching through your legs, so your legs are active. And there's a little bit of energy pulling your sit bones together, so your glutes are just slightly on. You're then going to take a breath, and as you breathe out, you're going to visualize sliding your breastbone forwards along the floor to look up. So the movement is coming from your breastbone lifting forwards and up, not from you shortening the back of your neck. So you should keep your bottom ribs on the floor, and you're just trying to open the front of your chest. Collarbone wide, shoulder blades pulling down away from your ears. Breathe in there, and then breathe out, go back down. Taking a breath, breathing out, sinking the breastbone, taking a breath, breathe out, pull the breastbone forwards, keeping your chin lifting into your throat so you don't shorten the back of your neck. Collarbones stay wide, elbows are reaching to the floor, shoulder blades are pulling down your back. Big breath in, breathing out, lowering back down. Big breath in, sink the breastbone. Big breath in, breathe out, send the breastbone forwards, opening the collarbones, pulling the shoulder blades down, and then releasing back down. This time we're going to bring the hands in slightly closer, and as long as you didn't have any back pain or any pinching, if you did, just keep doing the one you were doing to loosen your back up. If you found that fine, we're going to go up slightly higher. And this time you want to really make sure those legs are reaching. The tops of your feet are flat on the floor, your legs are nice and straight, and your belly is lifting so that when you go into an arch, your lower back does not get all the strain. So you're going to take a breath. Your head is hovered. As you breathe out, just make your breastbone a bit heavier. Take a breath, widen your collarbones, pull your shoulder blades down, and as you breathe out, you're sending that breastbone forwards until you're up onto those forearms. Your elbows are heavy down into the floor, your collarbones are wide, your shoulder blades are melting. Your chin is into your throat so your neck isn't shortened and your shoulders haven't come up to your ears. From there, I want you to keep the collarbones wide. I want you to keep your lower belly pulling up and in. And you're going to breathe out, and as you lift the breastbone, your arms start to straighten, but I want you to imagine your elbows are still reaching towards the floor, because if you push, you'll do this. I want you to keep the collarbones wide and the shoulder blades down, the chin up into the throat, and breathe. Keep that lower belly tight, so you're imagining you've got a band from your pubic bone to the bottom of your rib cage, to the bottom of your breastbone. So that is not sagging through the front of your body, you're keeping it active. Breath in, breath out. Now reach with your elbows towards the floor. And then lower back down through the back. One more of those. Breath in, breath out, hover the head. Breath in, breath out, sink the breastbone. Breath in, breath out, send that breastbone forwards, collarbones wide, shoulder blades down, reaching into your elbows. Once you've got to the position where it's the bottom of your rib cage and your elbows are reaching down, keep a check on your neck, chin into chest. Take a breath, breathe out, lift through the breastbone, reach through the legs, lift that belly up, connecting the pubic bone to the bottom of your breastbone. Breathe. Now if you're only halfway, that's fine. As long as everything is in the right positions, your collarbones are wide, your shoulders blades are down, and you haven't done this and shortened your neck. It's opening the back of that neck, keeping everything in the right position. And when you're ready, you lower yourself back to your elbows and then lower yourself back down to the floor. We're then going to bring our hands to our sort of chest level, and I want you to lift your hips first, because you're going to push into those knees and you're going to send your body back.
That can be quite a difficult manoeuvre the first time you do it, but as you practice that can get easier.
Place those palms, think of the base of the index, base of the little finger, heels of the hands down into the floor, long fingers taking some weight. I want you to then reach the sit bones back to the wall behind you, so you're lengthening and opening up your shoulders. Keep your collarbones wide and keep your shoulder blades wide so you don't again hunch up to your ears. You've got space. Your neck is long and your head is reaching to that space between your palms, and your sit bones are reaching to the wall behind you. Breathe into this position and breathe into the sides of your rib cage. And then we're going to pull ourselves back and then bring the hands in a little bit to that 4-point kneeling position. So heels of the hands are under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. Now we're going to tuck the toes under, and we're going to work these abdominal areas in preparation to go into the next movement, which is down dog. So you're going to place that weight evenly through the palms and into those fingers. Get those hands working. You're going to make sure your collarbones are wide and make sure those shoulder blades are pulled down your back. And then you're going to lift your chin up into your throat so the back of the neck is long and you're reaching the crown of the head to the wall in front of you. And you're reaching your sit bones to the wall behind you. So think of the sit bones directly at the bottom of your pelvis, and they're reaching directly behind you. So I don't want you to tuck under. So we're then thinking about the connection between the rib cage and the pubic bone. And it's this tummy area that we're wanting to work, and we're wanting that sense of wrapping of those obliques and the deep tummy muscles working. So you're going to take a breath. You're going to widen your collarbones, connect your shoulder blades down, lengthen your neck out of your shoulders, and you're reaching through the heels and you're reaching through your sit bones. So you've got length through all those points. You're then going to take a breath, and as you breathe out, I want you to imagine you're wrapping your abdominals without changing the position of your body. And as you do that on the out breath, you're going to reach through your heels to lift your knees, and it's a tiny lift, it's a hover. But when you do that, you will load your shoulders, and you need to keep your collarbones wide and your shoulder blades pulling down, and you need to keep your neck growing long. You can take a breath and then breathe out to lower back down. So you're trying to get the strength to be able to do that small movement without it feeling really hard work. Weight evenly through the palms and into the fingers. Breath in, reach through the crown of the head, reach through the sit bones, reach through the heels. Another breath. As you breathe out, you're going to wrap those abdominals, feeling the connection from the rib cage to the pelvis. As you reach those knees and hover, reach the heels, and hover the knees. Keep the head and neck reaching, don't shorten the neck. And breathe. And then lower down. So it works your shoulders really strongly, and it will also work your abdominals really strongly. And that will help prepare you for the next position, which is down dog. So for down dog, you want to take your time, and the most important thing to start with is the shoulder movement and the shoulder positioning. So we're going to work on that first. So taking a breath, we're going to go into that position we were just in. So breathing out, wrapping the abdominals, reaching through the heels and sit bones, reaching through the crown of the head. So once you're hovering those knees, you're then going to push the arms to send your breastbone towards your thighs. So I want you to really feel wide in the shoulders and almost reach the crown of the head to the space between your palms. So you feel wide in the collarbones and shoulder blades. And then once you're there, you're keeping your knees bent for the moment. You're going to lift your sit bones up to the sky to find some length through the backs of those legs. So your head is reaching between the space in the hands, but your elbows stay strong. So your shoulder blades are not up by your ears, they're down next to the side of your body. Your sit bones are reaching up, and then you can try and reach through one heel towards the floor, spreading from the ball of the foot, from that outside edge of the big toe and the outside edge of the little toe back into the heel bone, and then release off. Keep the sit bones reaching up in a diagonal to the corner of the ceiling, and then reach through the other heel from the ball of the foot back to the centre of the heel, and then coming off. Make sure your head is reaching to the space between the palms, and the left foot reach with that heel from the ball of the foot. Feel the whole foot work, stretch from the ball of the foot to the heel bone, and then the other side. And now if this is too much in your arms and your neck and your shoulders,
then you'll need to build up your strength. So you're just going to lower your knees, fold them down, and come back down into this position.
Now we took the right foot back to the start, so we're now going to bring the right foot forwards and bring it back between the hands. And we're going to shuffle that foot forwards until the ankle is underneath the knee, and you're going to reach forwards with that front knee, and you're going to reach back with that back knee. And you're going to visualize this front thigh is slightly rolling out to create a bit more space at the top of your hip. And this thigh is slightly rolling in, again, to open your top of your hip. And once you've got that reaching through one leg and the other, you're going to come up onto your fingers, and you're going to try and lengthen through your waist, widen your collarbones, pull your shoulder blades down your back, reach the crown of your head, lifting your chin into the throat, up into the diagonal. And breathe and open those hips. We're then going to try and put a bit of weight through the hands, and you're going to push yourself forwards into that front foot, and you're going to step forwards with that back foot. Release the head, keep the knees bent, release the head and neck down. Then lift the sit bones to the sky to stretch through the backs of those legs. If that feels hard, and if you feel like you're really pushing with your knees rather than lifting with your hips, place a hand at the base of your sit bone underneath it, and lift one leg at a time. And then the other side, lift. Finding the lift from the sit bone rather than by jamming through the knees. And the other side, and then releasing. One more time without the hands there. Lift through the hips so you don't feel tight in the knees. Lift through the hips, and then keep the knees slightly bent. Find the three corners of the feet, base of the big toe, base of the little toe, centre of the heel bone. Take a breath, connect the feet down, pull the sit bones down to the floor, lift the lower belly up, and then keep lifting the belly up to stack the vertebra up through your body as you come all the way back up.
Breathe in, keep your hips over your ankles, and then breathe out.
And then ordinarily we would then go all the way back down again and do the same, leading with the left leg. So let's go. Breathing in, breathing in, breathing in. Breathe out, roll through the spine, trying to get sequential movement, releasing one area of the back and then the area below, until you tip forwards from the hips. Try and keep the hips over the ankles so your weight is now in the front of your feet as you release down. Then you're going to bend your knees. Think of those hips rotating out slightly to let your belly come to lie on the front of those thighs. Hands softly on the floor. Head released first, then take a breath. Breathe out. Now try and reach through the crown of the head forwards as you look at the floor, trying to extend through the upper back rather than by shortening the back of the neck. So you want to feel some work at the top of the back up here.
Releasing down. Back breath in. Breathing out. This time you take the left foot back and release that knee to the floor. Make sure that knee is far enough away from the front heel and that the front knee is over that front ankle. And you're really trying to get that space as wide as you can between there and the knee. And you're reaching this knee forwards, rotating that thigh out slightly so you get some more space in the hip. And as this goes into extension, that femur will roll in slightly again to open up the front of that hip. So reach the front knee forwards, reach the back knee back. Feel that separation of those two thigh bones in opposite directions, trying to find some space. Then you're going to come up onto your fingertips and lengthen out of your waist and widen your collarbones, draw those shoulder blades down your back, lengthen through the crown of the head, pull the chin into the throat, and really enjoy that real opening sensation. Breathe. And then we're going to bring the right hand inside the right foot, and you're going to take that right leg back to join the other one, and we'll come down into that 4-point kneeling position again. And we're going to step the hands forwards. Now you're going to widen your collarbones, pull the shoulder blades down as you bring your weight forwards over those hands. And then you're going to bend the elbows down to the floor behind your wrist as you take the breastbone down to the floor. Then you're going to widen those hands to sort of ear level, and the elbows are straight out from the sides of the shoulders. Rest the forehead just for a moment, take a breath. Reach through the legs are hip width apart, so they're not together. Reach through the legs so the legs are active, tops of the feet are nice and open onto the floor. If you get cramp in your feet, that again should get easier as you open the ankles more, but sometimes if your ankles are tight, you can get cramp when you point your toes like this. If you do find that, just tuck your toes under and reach through your heels instead. Taking a breath, breathing out, hover the head. Take a breath, breathe out, just sink your breastbone down into the floor a little bit more so you're not pushing. Take a breath, make sure your collarbones are wide and your shoulder blades are pulling down. Your chin is lifted into the throat, and then you're going to breathe out as you reach the crown of the head forwards, lifting your breastbone up and forwards. Keep the collarbones wide, keep the shoulder blades pulling down. You're reaching down into your elbows with those arms, and you're trying to lift the breastbone forwards. Keep a little bit of activity in that lower belly. If you're feeling any pinching in your lower back, you really need to get that belly working to support it. Breathing, and then breathing out and lowering back down. Because we've warmed this back up already with that first routine, we're going to go straight into the higher movement. We're going to bring the hands down a little bit. Going to take a breath, sink the breastbone. Take another breath, and as we breathe out, we're going to slide that breastbone forwards, reaching down into your elbows as you widen your collarbones. Palms are nice and flat and wide. This time, we're going to do it with an in-breath, because what I want you to imagine is as you breathe in, your chest, your lungs are a helium balloon, and your breastbone is going to float up as you breathe in. And you're keeping collarbones wide, you're keeping that connection between your pubic bone and the bottom of your rib cage, so your abdominals are working. You're reaching through your legs, you'll feel your glutes should be working. Your chin is lifted into your throat, your collarbones are wide and your shoulder blades are down. And there should be a nice gradual curve. You don't want to be feeling any pinching anywhere. If you are, drop down and work at an area which is okay for you. But when you drop down, make sure you reach through those elbows and you don't end up pushing with your arms. So you're keeping that nice, steady positioning of those 5 key elements. Taking a breath, reach your elbows to the floor. And then lower back from the bottom ribs down through the breastbone and down to put the forehead on the floor. Right, we're going to bring the hands into chest height and we're going to lift the hips and push back. Going to open those palms, lengthen the fingers and reach those sit bones in a diagonal away from the palms, but reach the crown of the head between the palms so you don't shorten the neck as you reach the hips. Shorten the neck, sorry. Big breath wide into the sides of the rib cage, and then pull with your palms to pull you back into 4-point kneeling and get those palms, those wrists set up underneath your shoulders. This time we're tucking the toes under again. Again, if you've got stiff toes, this might be difficult to tuck your toes under, but again with time this gets easier. Reach your sit bones back so you get your neutral lower back curve. So your back doesn't want to be rounded, it wants to be nice and flat and slightly inward curve here. Then you want your bottom ribs lifting up so that you're not sagging through that middle back. You want wide collarbones and you want your shoulder blades pulling down. You want your chin lifted up into your throat so the crown of the head is reaching to the wall in front of you. Your sit bones are reaching to the wall behind you. Your heel bones are also reaching to the wall behind you. You're going to take a breath, and as you breathe out, you're wrapping those abdominals as you reach your heels to find that hover point. You're then going to push the chest towards the thighs, keeping your knees bent, finding that nice length through the arms. Find the palms, find the 4 corners of your palms and reach into those fingers. Then you're going to lift the sit bones by lengthening from the waist. Then you're going to take a breath. Your head is reaching to the space between the palms, so you're not pushing into the floor, you're soft in those shoulders. You're going to reach from the ball of your foot through the left heel, lengthening through the back of that left leg, and then come up. And then reach from the ball of the foot through to the heel on the right, lengthening through that right leg from the sit bone to the heel. Alternate, lift the sit bone to the sky as you reach back and down through the heel. Lift the sit bone to the sky as you reach back and down through the opposite heel. Soft shoulders, wide collarbones, wide shoulder blades, long neck. take a breath, bend both knees, lift the sit bones high, and then try and reach both heels towards the floor. And then lowering back down, bending the knees. And then coming back, and then you took the left leg backwards to start, so you're going to bring the left leg forwards. Find that foot as far forwards as it can go, keeping the knee over the ankle, so you get that nice
Space between that back knee and that front knee.
That front thigh is opening to give you more space at the hip. Your back thigh is rolling in to give you more space at the back hip. Then you're going to come up onto your fingertips and lengthen through the waist. Widen the collarbones, pull the shoulder blades down, lift the chin into the throat and lengthen everything out. Then going to tuck the back toe under and come up a little bit, and you're going to push and bring that foot level. Release everything down, keeping the knees soft. Lift the sit bones to the sky. Again, if you find it difficult not to push with the knees, lift one with your fingers and then lift the other with your fingers. Lift with your fingers and lift with your fingers. And then release your fingers to the floor and just lift, visualizing the way your fingers were, lifting from there. Release the head and neck. Take a breath, keep the knees slightly soft. Find the corners of your feet, the three corners. Push into the floor, lift through the belly, drop through the tail. All the way up through.
Breathing in, lift the breastbone, keep the hips over the ankles, and then breathing out.
And then you've done 2 cycles, one leading with the right leg and one leading with the left leg. And you can repeat that as many times as you like, but it's always worth doing those few warm-up exercises at the beginning, just to A, get your breath going, B, get your feet connecting, and then the third one was just loosening up the spine when we were in that half cat-cow, so you get the spine curl going. And then you work through those patterns, and it really works everything through the whole body. So it's a really nice process. And then the more fluid you feel, and the easier each of those positions are to get into, and the stronger your shoulders get, the stronger your abdominals get, the longer the backs of your legs get, and when all of those start to feel easier, you can pop onto the next video that I'll post, which will be for a more intermediate level, where we challenge the body a little bit more. All right, good luck.